I have a scar behind the pendant around my neck. Many of you can't see from where you're sitting, but it was because of a recent brush with the healthcare system. I had a cough for a long time, too long, 8 months. And a friend and colleague who was a doctor said, "Dude, you need to have a chest x-ray." When the films came back, we were silenced as we both stared at the mass in the center. I felt winded. I felt like I had fallen from a broken ladder's rung. Lots of emotions and ideas ran through my mind. I wondered whether I had taken the wrong path, whether I allowed work to feature too heavily in my life, deferring the things that I intuitively knew were more important, only to realize that I might not have the ability to circle back, maybe not even experience them at all. I thought about the last 10 years, all the high drama and exhilarating productivity. I wondered if I sidelined the people that loved me the most. An image of my mother came to mind. I wondered if I had been selfish. I wondered if I had loved enough. All of these would be things that played in my mind in the mornings that followed as I woke up before dawn, as the room is kind of bathed in that weird Arctic half-light. The light in my lamp burned very low. I blinked and I was in another radiology department. This time I needed a CT scan to understand the nature of the mass. I was presented in front of a receptionist. She was cold, she was busy, she was flustered. I know what it's like to be flustered and busy. I put it to the side, sat down, and calmed. When I went into the CT machine, it spoke to me. Breathe. Hold your breath. Breathe. Hold your breath. I was startled. I went back to the waiting room and waited and waited and waited. As a doctor, the differential diagnoses keep flipping through my head as fear became a wolf pacing in its cage at the zoo in my mind. Eventually, I asked to speak to a radiologist who came out and was flustered too, didn't make eye contact, and then blurted out, "Either way, you're going to need chemotherapy." I panned around at all the faces around me, filled with concern and embarrassment, concerned for my healthcare, embarrassed because we were still in a waiting room and they had overheard. As I replayed these moments in my head, and I empathize with a health system that ultimately is stretched and under-resourced, a place where frustrations are commonplace. I know I'm part of the system. But when a freaking CT machine is rude to you, I mean, this is a recorded message. It could be anything, which made me think, when did the humanity get ripped out of healthcare? We didn't need to tamper with people's dignity like this. We didn't need to tamper with my dignity. A couple of days later, I was back in hospital, this time to have the surgery that would go in through the base of my neck and into my lungs to take out some tissue so we could understand what was growing in my chest. In this interaction, I couldn't help but smile, because this time I felt what it was like to be cared for. I felt what brought me to this vocation in the first place. I saw it in the faces of interns and residents, 18 hours deep in a 12-hour shift, only to return again at 7 in the morning and repeat, handing in no timesheet. I saw it in the doctors that stayed behind to take care of their patients because they knew if they didn't, no one else on the planet would. And they felt that terrifying joy of unbearable responsibility. I saw it in the doctors that knelt down on the pavement on their way to dinner because someone in the public had fallen and they needed help. I saw it in the doctors who believed that each compassionate palpation, each auscultation was an act of kindness to patients aching to be heard. I saw it in the doctors who believed that medicine was not just a science, but also an art, and managed to give each patient a small piece of their heart. I saw it in the doctors who worked in MSF, where they showed us the strength in our own voices and showed us if we bared witness and spoke the truth, even when our voice trembled, that we could face down people with armed pistols. I'm talking about the Frank Bowdens and Ian Frasers. I'm talking about Fred Hollows, Fiona Stanleys and Hugh Taylors. I'm talking about Vincent Chang, the Winnatongs, and men of the mind like McGorry. I'm talking about doctors who changed everything after they had come, like Howard Florey. And I felt that energy again. I felt that light in my lamp start burning brightly as I thought of a future in healthcare unbearably bright. It was impossible not to smile. I started to imagine what could health actually look like. I imagine a clinic that is actually engineered to make you feel more healthy for actually having been there. I imagine a clinic that has technology that actually asks you to reach out and touch it, and when you do, it fills the room with a meditative calmness engineered to make you feel better. I imagine a clinic where there is technology that can do the basic things like checking you in and doing payment so it is more efficient. I imagine a clinic where we rip the receptionist from behind the desk and replace them with a patient advocate, a new animal in the health ecosystem that sees you before and after you've seen a doctor to make sure that you are cared for. I imagine a clinic that actually welcomes you when you actually see the technology, not bark at you. I imagine a clinic that allows you access to your own electronic health record so you can see the results and you have a seat at the table. I imagine a clinic that seamlessly integrates digital devices, such as one that looks in the back of your eye, or a digital stethoscope that actually listens to your heart, and these things are saved in your electronic health record, never to be forgotten. I imagine a clinic where you have education at one touch, easily giving patients and doctors access to concepts as a normal heart or one that beats irregularly. I imagine a clinic that brings patients through VR technology into places like what it would be inside an artery, red blood cells hurtling towards you, so they can get the concept of cholesterol and the importance of keeping it down. I imagine a clinic that doesn't just stop there when you are in and have left the clinic. I imagine one where it continues in an application, allows you access to your electronic health records, allowing you an understanding of your management plan, the ability to book in another appointment. I imagine a clinic that gives back in a partnership, for instance, with UNICEF, an ability for every patient we see at a clinic, a vaccination back to somewhere in the developing world, such as a war against maternal tetanus. I'm glad to say that this is not just winged imagination. 2 years ago, I formed an organization where we brought engineers and doctors together, and we obsessed about the future of health and technology. We're building our clinic and will be finished by the end of the year. We have built a franchise system called Flory. Taking my own advice, I think it would be remiss of me if I didn't reach out to the people here in this audience. And I wonder if there are people in here who can see what we can see, who believe in what we believe. I wonder if there are people who might be or lead to our first franchisee at Flory. And if you are, I urge you to please be in touch with me through flory.com.au. I believe that someone in the audience, in this minute, in this hour, in this day, has the keys to unlocking the beginning of the health revolution. So these are 3 stories, 3 dots in my life that have led me here. As you can see, I am an extension of not only my story, but the story before my story, which has brought me here. As part doctor, part aid worker, and part entrepreneur, I believe that insights in each of these fields reverberate in the other. As I look around, I know that many are probably just beginning a journey or a mission or a plan. And I like to think about what it was like when I started my own journey. It was this feeling of foggy, groping, undefined, raw pain mixed with incommunicable happiness. It was a sense that anything I could put my mind to was achievable. And it's not in our nature, nor that of any animals, to start out by spitting in one's own face and damning existence. This requires a degree of corruption that differs from person to person. I find that some people break apart because of pressure, some sell out, but most through imperceptible degrees wake up one day and realize that they just don't have the fire anymore. And all of these vanish in the vast swamp of some elders who tell us persistently that there is a maturity in abandoning your ideals. There is a security in abandoning your dreams, that there is a practicality in losing self-esteem. Yet some hold on, knowing that this fire is not to be betrayed, learning how to give it shape, purpose, and reality. And I think it's important to remember that no matter what our futures, at the dawn of our lives and at our journeys, we believed that everything was possible, and we believed in life's potential. Thank you very much.